Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Remember Me Daily Readings for Lent. And I'll start off with the readings for Tuesday after the third Sunday in Lent. What is trial? A rendezvous which God appoints to his creatures that he may test their love. Trial alone, indeed, can provide the opportunity for the proof of man's free choice between his own will and the will of God. And the severer the trial, the better one can show our love by our generosity in triumphing over it. When God destines a soul, says the Apostle, to the glory of the elect, he also destines it to reflect the image of his only Son. How can a soul reflect that image in itself? Through glory? Why, as to glory, the Son of God was glorious on Tabor, but that glory lasted for an hour. Through strength? Heartily. For it is rare indeed that God predestines a creature to miraculous deeds. Through holiness, then? Yes. And what is the most striking element in the holiness of the Son of Man? The, resig- the resignation his love evinced in his sufferings. Ecce homo, behold the man. Look at him as Pilate shows him to you with his reed, his crown of thorns, his bruised and disfigured face, dimmed by shame. This is truly the man of sorrows, with his burning heart and his gentle glance. Look well at him, for such is the model we must copy in its grief, if we are to reflect its rays when we enjoy its vision in the bosom of the eternal glory. So this one is got my notes highlighted here. I think in an earlier episode I was talking about this, but I don't mind going through this again because I think today's reading is a really good really good reading for today. What is trial? Just to repeat what the reading says, a rendezvous which God appoints to his creatures that he may test their love. The severer the trial, the better we can show our love by our generosity in triumphing over it. Um, so I think this is something that unfortunately, with the Protestantization of Catholicism, people tend to misunderstand, and it's trial, it's sufferings. I think we are talking about this before. Protestants, as I like to say, my observance of them is that they love to focus on the resurrection of our Lord, which is not a bad thing, of course. But the difference between them and Catholics is that we like to focus on the crucifixion more than the resurrection. And in my opinion, the resurrection is great. It's the greatest of all miracles. But I think our main focus is the crucifixion because we have to prepare ourselves for the trials of life and the sufferings that we receive, sometimes sometimes willingly by God, sometimes God permits it. We have to accept these trials and grow stronger from them and use what we learned, right? All the biblical reading, all the Bible readings, all the rosaries, all the prayer books, all the books that you read, that's just preparation. If you do all that stuff and never use any of the knowledge, that knowledge is not just to win debates. It's not just to win philosophical battles when you meet your family members. That's advice for you, like kind of preparing you mentally and hopefully spiritually to overcome these things when they're brought to you. There's a lot of trials, and there's a lot of Catholics I've seen them myself personally. Catholics who, like they love God and they praise Him and they do all stuff. All this is great when their life is going well, but any chance of like suffering, when they get suffering, they get a preview. When God invites them to suffer with Him, when they receive a trial, they lose all hope, and that's really sad because, like I said, all those podcasts, all those audiobooks, all those books you read, all those prayers, all those novenas, all those devotions, all those whatever you do, all of that stuff is worth nothing If in a little trial you tap out and you leave, no bueno, not good. If you're one of these people, right? And I'm generally, obviously I'm talking to myself. These are thoughts that I have to myself. These are also thoughts to you if you happen to be those kinds of people. Those books and stuff, they're good, right? And it's good that you have devotion, but if you fold at the first chance of trial, and sometimes God will give you a small trial, very rarely does he give you big trials. Very rarely does he give you trials that shake, that have the ability to shake your faith. Most of the time it's something doesn't go your way. Or like, like I don't, you know what? I'm not even going to get into specifics, but they're very minuscule things, like very pedestrian, very everyday things that are like they're not even worth thinking about. It's not even worth losing sleep over. And these are the small trials, right? And the good thing about Lent is that we're kind of giving ourselves, they're mock trials, right? Giving ourselves a taste of what it's like to live a better life. If you are showering with cold water only, or refraining from eating certain kind of foods, or even doing the fast where you're not eating meat the entire time, minus Sundays, of course. You can do it on Sundays because they're feast days, but if you're doing that, you're kind of putting your body into a sort of shock, not just a spiritual shock, but a physical shock, just to get your body ready for that kind of suffering when you get it, right? Real suffering. Another thing too is you should pray, you should try praying the rosary kneeling. Sometimes it's on the hard floor, but even on the even on carpet you can do it and it does the same thing. Try not, if you're praying the rosary sitting down. Of course, this excludes people who can't move out of bed or who are sick or anything like that, but really try to pray the rosary kneeling. That's important to do because it's also a way that, one, it keeps you awake, but two, it's that kind of trauma that creates that kind of trauma and spiritual testing, spiritual trial, that mock trial, uh, gets you spiritually prepared for the real trials. And I can tell you from personal experience, I'm not going to tell you the reason why because I don't think that's important, but I'm telling you by personal experience, it does work. It does work, right? It doesn't, right? It does help you if you do these kinds of things. If you shock, like not physically shock your body, but um, outside of Lent, what you can do is you cannot eat meat. You can just refrain from eating meat, abstain from eating meat on Friday, which is the rule, but also on Wednesday. If you do those two things, that too, right? You might not think it's a lot. You might not think it's a lot, but but it does help. It does help overcoming these things. And when you receive trials from God, whether it be willed by Him or whether it be stuff that He permits, you will be ready for it. I'm telling you this right now. God will challenge you. If you're reading, if you're praying, if you're involved in the spiritual life, God will challenge you because to me, these are my personal thoughts, of course, because God's never revealed these things to me directly, but God will challenge you because He wants to. It feels like, right? Either He does it to humble you. Maybe you think you're more ahead than you are, or, or He. This is a way to show God your love for Him. It is a test, and if you fail, it's very bad. If you fail, right? It's very bad. Um, I guess I can say this now because it's enough time passed, but like I knew a guy who like he he was very devout and I had very high hopes for him. He still goes to mass and stuff, but he was a man who fasted, who he did stuff, he did spiritual works, but the first trial he got, and I'm not going to reveal the trial because again it's not necessary, but like he basically tapped out at the most like easiest of trials, right? And it's maybe he thought more of himself than he should have. But you do these things, God will test you, and we need to be ready to be, because biblically speaking, Christ can come back at any time. His second coming can be tomorrow. It can be in an hour. It can be in a month. It could be in 20 years. Maybe you won't be alive for it. We don't know. And if you're not spiritually prepared for it, you will not survive. You will not go through it. You will not make it. So keep that in mind too, right? We are at war. We are in a spiritual war. We are the church militant for a reason. We are church militant because we are in battle. We're not just in battle with the devil and with the world, but with ourselves, right? The flesh, with ourselves. And we have to we have to keep going, because just to go over and just to continue, when God has chosen a soul which he predestines to become great, he marks it with a great seal, and God's seal is the cross. That's true, right? I don't know if I read that. I think, yeah, I didn't finish that. That was the last part of the reading. um right, let me just read it again. When God has chosen a soul which he predestines to become great, he marks it with the seal, and God's seal is the cross. We had another video. Oh, I moved them. We had another video. Let me fix this. Early today, or not early today. We had another video a couple of days ago about that stuff, about accepting our crosses, about accepting our trials. Right? Receiving trials from God is not a curse. It's not a punishment. It is a blessing. Right? And especially in times today, this channel doesn't really like to go into polemics, but you know what we're talking about. We're not in the best place spiritually, and it's not just what's happening within the church. Everyone, we're not in the best place spiritually, and the best thing that we can do is spiritually prepare ourselves. And when our cross comes, whether it be sometimes it's a cross this big, and I've seen people fall for crosses this big, or it's the biggest cross you've ever seen in your life. These are the trials that God gives us, and we have to spiritually be ready for it. We have to spiritually be ready for it because you are chosen. You were chosen by God. And if you're chosen by God, you have to you have to suffer, right? Everyone on the internet likes talking about, I'm God's favorite, I'm God's chosen, I'm God's this. Let me tell you, like the other day I saw somebody with the shirt that said God's favorite. You're not God's favorite if you're living a good life. You're not God's favorite if you announce it to the world. Well, biblically speaking, you're not God's favorite anyway, but you're not one of God's favorites if you can wear it pridefully on a shirt. You're far from it. You're not even close to it. I would tell this person, if they had the shirt, like, burn it. Shirt's the most prideful thing that you can wear. We were talking about pride the other day about people who, the extraordinary Eucharistic ministers, that they're prideful because they think they're equal with the priest. But that shirt is also the height of pride, right? To have a shirt God's favorite. It's no good, man. Burn the shirt. Get rid of the shirt. Because if you're favored by God, he's not going to give you a shirt, right? If you're favored by God, he's not going to give you wealth. He's not going to give you an easy life. What he's going to give you, if you're God's favorite, is a cross, a trial in form of a cross. And he's going to wait to see if you're really in the Catholic life, if you're really about the Catholic life, or you're just blowing smoke the whole time. So that's something that we need to understand, and we need to be spiritually ready for. But with that being said, um, I hope you guys' Lent is going well. Hang in there. We're almost done with another week. And pray for me as I'll be praying for you. And until the next episode, take care and God bless.